Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of CopaLoadofRacing, where we're going to be looking ahead to the Scottish Grand National at Ayr and also the big meeting at Newbury, where the Greenham Stakes is the highlight there. But I'll be looking at the big handicap race there at Newbury and also the John Porter Stakes to kick off proceedings there as well. Last week, of course, it was the Grand National itself. Not a very big blog last week, I must admit. Massively busy last week, so managed to just do a short blog for the big race itself last week. In terms of the race, well, it was a magnificent performance once again by Tiger Roll to win his second consecutive Grand National. An impressive style. He, as I've been saying in the weeks running up to it, he's been really given a chance by the handicapper. There was some people doubting whether or not he was going to be able to, would there be something in that? But we're talking about a race of 40 runners. Was there maybe something lower down in the weights that was going to catch him out? Was he going to get the luck that you need? But once again, Davy Russell, magnificent pilot, guided him round the track really well. Wasn't without some mistakes, that has to be said, pegged and landing a couple of times, but jumped the last and, won in very impressive style for a handicap race, and was really superb performance by Tiger Roll, and I was so glad to see that. Rathfinden was, of course, the horse that I'd been speaking about for months, and he ran really well. Just in the end, it's a tough attritional race. He was up there in the front from Ruby, who felt, as with a lot of Grand National winners, being prominent is a good place to be. But he just tired a little in the last couple of furlongs, but ran magnificently well to finish third. So I hope you had him on each way anti-post. That would have gave you a decent enough return there. And a few others that ran well. One for Arthur ran really well. Derek Fox, just as he did a couple of years ago, kept him out the back, kept him out of trouble, and then he swung round, and I must admit, I thought, he's going to come here with a real hell of a chance, one for Arthur. But again, he tired, and maybe that's just a lack of racing that he's had over the past couple of years, really, that told. Apologies, my dog is wanting out. There we are. He's usually always quiet when I do the vlog, but he's a wee bit restless tonight. Right. So yeah, it was a magnificent performance by Tiger Roll. But as I say, one for Arthur, put in a great performance, finished 6th. I put a bit of money on Walk in the Mill on the day as well, finishing 4th. And yeah, overall great meeting entry was. It was again, sadly we lost. There was a fatality, and there's been issues again. Racing feels it has to stand up for itself in these situations, when we have organisations that want to see the race banned completely, not just the Grand National but horse racing overall. But it does, any fatality is very difficult to see and difficult to accept, but I don't like saying it's part and parcel of racing. In a sense it is, but it hurts many of a racing fan when they see that, and it is one of the things about national hunt racing in particular that makes you feel a little bit, leaves a sour taste in the mouth, but it is a very tough race, the Grand National, and we again the fatality came at the first fence. there was changes made a few years ago because of so many fatalities at the first fence. They shortened the race so that there wasn't such a long run into the first fence. But I think that's always going to be the case, that first fence is always still going to be a tough one for horses at the beginning of the race. It always has been with the new Grand National, with the modification to the fences, that if you can get past the first circuit, even round to Valentine's, I would say in the first circuit, most horses then find a rhythm, and you see less fallers and less fatalities after that. But it's still a hard one to accept. But if racing is, we're never going to get to a stage where there's never going to be horse fatalities. We sadly don't just see it on the racing circuit. It sometimes happens at the yards where horses are out training, or horses out in the field. Even during the off season, if a national hunt horse is out in the field, it can injure itself. These things can happen. But going back to Tiger Roll, Gordon Elliott, David Russell, magnificent achievement. What's going to happen next year? Well, Michael O'Leary, the owner, wants to look at the cross-country race again. He says he very much doubts he's going to go for a third Grand National. We'll see, because he even sort of said after winning the cross-country at Cheltenham this season that he wouldn't probably go for the Grand National even then. So I take that with a pinch of salt, what Michael O'Leary says. That you actually start to think, what if he'd run in the Gold Cup this year? How well could he have performed in that? Now, in saying that, that race would have been a lot tougher than what he faced in the cross-country. And that might have had a bearing on how well he performed in the Grand National. But whether or not they consider it for next year, I think there's a chance there. If you look at some of the novices that are coming through in the chase and that sort of Gold Cup sort of realm, you've got the established horses that will go for it again next season. But Tiger Roll would be certainly worth a go at it. But we'll see how they campaign the horse next season. I think next season we might see its finale. We don't know whether or not he decides to retire the horse at the end of next season. We shall see. But I think the thing that they really would like to get is a 5th Cheltenham Festival win under his belt. But anyway, we're looking ahead now to the Scottish Grand National. The Ayr meeting started today in glorious weather. A bit chilly, but a good start there for Ayr. Good ground there. That, you know, I wouldn't say unseasonably, because we've had pretty good ground all season. So it's an interesting one that horses that perform well in that ground all season will be glad then that Ayr's still got good ground. Those that have been hoping for a bit more of a softer conditions will be having to accept that they're probably not going to get it this season unless Punchestown sees a downpour. But it's good ground, and that's what we're going to see tomorrow as well. Another good day's forecast tomorrow. Not the warmest of days by any means, but it is still mid-April, and we're not expecting Derby-like weather, shall we say. But let's look at 3 races at Ayr tomorrow, starting off with the 125, the Scotty Brand Handicap Chase, this listed contest over 2 miles. At the head of the market at the moment you have Dan Skelton's Azuri there. Skelton's going really well at the moment, so is Paul Nicholls. He's got Magic Saint in this. The horse I'm looking at, Duke of Navan's also in a horse that I've liked down the years. He's now 11, but is still up there prominent in the market after a decent season for Nicky Richards. I like Forest Behan for Brian Ellison. Danny Cook will be on board, the usual pilot for Brian. He missed his appointment at Aintree last week, so certainly been looking at this race. He ran really well under a big weight at Cheltenham in the Close Brothers race. which is always a real tough race, a big handicap race, that of course just near the end of the meeting, and he performed really well. He doesn't mind this type of ground, and so he comes into this with a real good chance. You know, it is a close limited handicap, this race, so you know he's going to be up there, not carrying Aussie the Oscar is your horse that's going to be carrying top weight in this race, but dog's barking. I don't know if that's because he likes Forest Behan or there's a cat next door that he likes to have a bark at. But anyway, Forest Behan for me in that race, I think he's run about 9 to 1 and he should run really well for Brian Ellison in that competitive 2 mile handicap chase. Now moving on to the 225, sorry, it's the CPMS Scottish Champion Hurdle, this grade 2. It's a handicap now, it has been for a few years, but it has got a really big field here for this. 15 runners are set to go to post for what is a good prize. The winner just gets shy of 60 grand, and it's got a good representation. Again, Skeltons have Newby Negra up there at 4 to 1. Nicky Henderson has Mr. Fishery, has a few horses in here, and one of them that I'm looking at is Verdana Blue. Run about 7 to 1 this Christmas hurdle winner, beat Bouvidaire of course at Kempton on similar ground as what he's going to face tomorrow. Didn't disgrace himself in the Champion Hurdle itself in ground that wouldn't have suited, so I think at 7 to 1 that's a decent price to be going at here, and I fancy Verdana Blue on ground that he'll like, and having won a grade 1 at Kempton, there's a lot of positives there. So Verdana Blue for me. I'll just let the dog in because he's probably want to hear these tips. So yeah, Verdana Blue in the Scottish Champion Hurdle there. Right, moving on to the big race itself, the 335, the Coral Scottish Grand National Handicap Chase, over 4 miles. The 4th biggest betting race in the UK, behind the likes of the Grand National, of course, the Gold Cup and the Derby. So a lot of people like this race. I think some of that comes down to the fact that it just comes off the back of the Grand National itself, and people think, oh, good. But it is, for us Scots, we have always, these were the 2 races that sweepstakes were done in the house, and when I was a kid, you got your 50 pence each way on a horse that you were allowed to pick out on a Saturday morning. So it still has a healthy respect right across the country. It's a really competitive handicap, of course. Now going into this, I've picked out a few runners here. Beware the Bear, who won at Cheltenham in that Ultima handicap, is favourite at the moment. He's went up in the weights. I think he's had a £9 rise. I don't see that having a real detrimental effect on him. I think he's got a hell of a chance for Nicky Henderson. But in behind him was Big River for Lucinda Russell. Now, he wasn't enjoying that race, I'll be honest with you. His jumping really does have to improve. And for a 4 mile race at Ayr on good ground, they are going to go a bit of a pace, and this is my little doubt about Big River. If he can hold his position and jump reasonably well, then he's got a chance. Now at Cheltenham, if you remember, he finished like a steam train up that hill, belted up the hill at Cheltenham to finish 4th. That would give you an indication that, oh well, maybe he's then looking for a step up in trip. So a lot of others, I think, now he's come in price. He's around about 10 to 1 at the moment, and I think he's worth looking at. Big River. The heart talking there, I get it, because I would love to see Lucinda getting a win here in this race. She's had an up and down time of it of late, with, you know, the positives in One for Arthur running really well at Aintree, but Forest Deseagle sadly losing his life at Aintree in the Topham. So it would be good for Lucinda, and it would be really good for her team to get that. Now, the winner of the Eider Chase a couple of months ago was Cross Park. and he's around about 14-1 just now. He's, you know, Mr. E is reopposing him here, who he just beat in that race. Mr. E, by the way, is a bigger price if you fancy him. He's around about 33-1 if you fancy him overturning that form at Newcastle. But you know, he's still very much a horse that's on. Harry Skelton takes a ride as well, which is another big positive for me. But he's got, you know, he's not overly an exposed horse. He's got, you know, a healthy respect for his fences as well, his Cross Park, and you know, he's not someone that tries out these trips all the time, but he shows that he can get the 4 miles, as he showed at Newcastle, and again that was on good ground, so he seems to appreciate that surface. So Cross Park should run well, but one lower down in the market that I think would be worth noting is Kingswell Theatre for Michael Scudamore. Benjamin Post takes a ride here. Now, he's been doing some of the rounds around the cross country fences at Cheltenham and won there back in November. Jumped really well and enjoyed it. And then he did run again at the Cheltenham Festival, finished behind Tiger Roll down the field in 6th. So again, when he won at Cheltenham, it was good ground. He's 40-1 at the moment, and I think if he just gets into a rhythm again, just like he did back in November at Cheltenham, he has a chance. As long as he doesn't get too far back, I think his confidence will grow as the race progresses, and I think Kingswell Theatre at a bigger price is worth a wee each way punt there. So Big River, Cross Park and Kingswell Theatre for me to take note of at Ayr. Now moving on to Newbury, I'll look at a couple of races there. The Greenham is on. I'm not going to look at that race. The classic form I'm going to really try and focus on as we've got Newmarket coming up this week, and that's when I'm going to really start to get my teeth stuck into that. But what I'll look at first of all was the 140, which is the Dubai Duty Free Finest Surprise Stakes, registered as a John Porter, which a lot of people know it as, and that's a Group 3 over 1.5 miles. Defoe's at the head of the market, former winner of the Glasgow Stakes, of course, and he had a good season last year. He likes this time of year. He came out and won this race last year, in actual fact, and he done really well. He then won at the July meeting, and he's also raced really well. Sorry, dog is wanting everything, as you can see. Look at him, eating everything. Sorry about this. But Defoe, yep, he's now been gelded after a disappointing end to the campaign. He did run at Longchamp in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe and finished well down the field, and had disappointed at the Curragh before that as well. But he's now been gelded. He is the favourite for this race, but I like Young Rascal for James Doyle and William Haggis. You want out again? He's not giving me peace, right? Well, you want out, or you know? Well, you want to stay in? You want to take that out with you? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, Young Rascal. He was only defeat last season came in the Derby itself, and he's certainly a horse. He won twice at Newbury at the back end of last season. So likes the track, likes the trip of 1.5 miles, which he's going to encounter tomorrow, and I think he can stick it up to Defoe and overturn that form. One at a bigger price, maybe Mark Johnson's Communique. He's run about 12s at the moment, and he's been, you know, he won at the July meeting. He's won at Newbury as well back in September of last year. Sorry, I said the July meeting. He won in the July course, should I say? Well, it wasn't the July course because it was in September, so it must have been the Rolling Mile. But anyway, he won at Newmarket last season, and is a progressive sort. This 4-year-old, so had a good 3-year-old campaign coming on now this season, and I think at a bigger price under Sylvester de Souza he can run really well. And finally, looking at the big handicap at Newbury, the 315, which is the Mansion Bet Spring Cup handicap. if he's thirsty, I'm thirsty as well. Are you doing this to annoy me, man? Anyway, right, get looking at this Spring Cup handicap. 2 horses I'll pick out for you. Escobar for Adam Kirby and David Amira. Finished second at the Champion Stakes in the Balmoral handicap, in fact. Like Softish ground, which it is down at Newbury. And has always been there or thereabouts in these big field handicaps, so I think he could go well there. He's round about 16 to 1, and Shates, who I'd picked out before, was due to run in the Lincoln, didn't take up that appointment, and he's back over a mile here on the flat, having had a wee turn on over hurdles, which I'd said a couple of weeks ago when we were looking at him in the Lincoln. So I think Shates at a bigger price, around about 20s, could run a pretty big race. Right, that's it for me on that one. As I say, I'll get this wee bit. Come here. You. Look at this, look at him. Aye. Would you tip? Eh? Aye, he doesn't know weight tips. Anyway, right, you're wanting to. There you go, son. Right, so as I say, this week as well, we've got Newbury and the big, Newmarket, the big trials coming up there for the Guineas. So we've got a lot of good racing there over 3 days. Cheltenham's back as well for their two-day meeting during the week. But next week we'll be looking at, it's also good for, it's Easter weekend next week, so we'll be looking at there's the all-weather championships, of course, at Lingfield on the Friday, and then the Saturday Musselburgh have a really good card, and there's racing at Haydock as well, so we'll have a look at that next Friday night. But that's it from me. Have a great Scottish National. If you're off, enjoy it. Off to Ayr, have a great one, and be lucky. CopaLoadofRacing.